On this week's episode of the Autohaus podcast,
You've seen your share of like shitty crowds, the burnout people, the people that just rev their cars and stuff. But like the Corolla community was actually the first time I went to a meet where people actually like addressed each other by names. Like there wasn't anyone like fucking around, you know, like it's just like everybody's on the same page pretty much, right? Like, and then like I actually had my first experience, I think like during like last summer, where I walked around and then like as people were getting out of the cars, they were like, "Hey, Chris," and then I was like, "Oh, hey, Tony," or like, "Hey," you know, like it's just like I knew people by their names, you know, and it was awesome. Like, you know, it's just like it's an actual community, and then like going to those meets actually reminds me how fun it is to be into Corollas, because it's like, you know, like on the internet side of things, like, you know, you can see so much hate sometimes, you know, especially with the people who are just trolling, and it's like sometimes you get lost in all the drama and everything, and it's like you forget like how nice it is, you know.
this is the Autohaus podcast. Our reoccurring guest, Chris Van, is back. I don't know how many Chris Van episodes we have, but welcome back, man.
Hey, man. It's good to be back. It's in a different format this time, though. It's a little bit interesting.
Yeah. This will be the third over-the-phone podcast I've done. It's worked out pretty well, surprisingly well so far. And it's interesting in these times, like out of necessity, something has actually been positive.
Yeah. No, I mean, if anything, like I would think podcasts are almost essential during these times now, because we're just all stuck at home, right? And probably have a lot of time to kill, some of us. So it's good to listen and probably and participate like myself today. So
Yeah, I was on the Annex live stream last Thursday, and then I'm not sure when I'm going to release this podcast, but next Thursday we'll have another live stream. And I think part of the reason there were so many participants is just because everyone's stuck at home right now.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's good, man. Yeah, I mean, no, like I said, like, you know, people love talking Corollas, cars and stuff. So I mean, someone will tune in to listen, right?
Yeah.
So
when we last left off, we put your Cusco diff in the Corolla and a 4.7.
yeah.
So how has that been so far?
Oh yeah, no, it's been really nice. So I haven't really gotten too many chances to like push the car like really hard, except, you know, like when I was driving home, like, and like the freeway was open. But then, you know, that's not really putting the diff to the test much. But the limited experience I did have, like putting it around in the streets, has been pretty fun. Yeah, no, I do notice with the 4.7 gears, the acceleration is pretty nice now. But yeah, like I said, I haven't been able to push it too hard where I can really feel out the difference. But I do feel the difference, especially just going around like a corner or something like really fast. So like it's been nice having that little extra oomph. But then at the same time, like, oh, I do notice the acceleration. Sorry, not the acceleration difference. The mile per hour gauge inaccuracy now. It did annoy me a bit at first, but then after a while, you just stop noticing it. And plus, it is so now my gauge is like 5 miles per hour off. It reads too fast. So if anything, that just makes me drive slower, because it reads 80 miles. So say it's reading 80 miles per hour. I'm actually only driving like 75. So it's kind of like a good safety net for me anyway, because then I'll usually just like coast at like 75, 80. So yeah.
The biggest thing I noticed is like even when we were breaking it in, that diff never really made any noise. I mean, has that changed since then?
No. So actually, all right. So actually, it's good that you brought that up, because we found out something after we installed the diff. I had you order me some mold tool. I forgot what was it, Gear 300 And there's another version too. There's like a Gear 300 like V or something, or L.
I think it's LS for limited slip.
Yeah, yeah, LS. But then I had you order like the normal one.
Yeah,
And
so
so then I remember we were talking about it, and then I remember that people also use that in their transmission. But I was thinking like, man, wouldn't it be kind of rough? I mean, wouldn't it be bad to put a friction modifier in something that you would use in a transmission? So then I like the same day I changed the fluid out, the original fluid we put in there to break it in, I put the mold tool in, and then I drove it around the corner, and then I just like was so surprised by how like loud it was. Like it was so clunky. Like and then that's when I was just like, no, I think my suspicions were correct. Maybe this is not the right fluid. So then I pulled back in the garage and I just like looked it up real quick, and it was like, oh yeah, sure enough, LS is the one with the friction modifier. So I don't know if you remember this, but I actually came into work and I asked you for a bottle of friction modifier after that. And so I put in like maybe half the bottle after, and it quieted down a lot. And then yeah, no, it's made no noise since then, and it's like really smooth. So, and I've had diffs, like I've had a diff in my Miata where it was like smooth, but it just felt like it didn't lock up too well. But then this one, it like you could definitely feel the engagement. It's kind of hard to describe like how it feels when a diff locks up. Maybe you feel it in your butt the most. I'm not sure how to describe it, but you just feel more locked in, I guess. And you definitely feel it in the throttle as well. Like you'll know like, okay, like my diff is locked. So I guess like a really good scenario is like I was making a left turn, and then I was a little upset by the person that cut me off. So I drove a little aggressively through the turn. I just like floored it, and then almost instinctively I knew that it was gonna, I knew the rear end was gonna come out. And so I floored it, and I whipped the wheel around, and then sure enough it just slid, and it did like a perfect like power slide. And I was just like, wow, before that's something I really had to try hard to do, like deliberately to engage, right? But then now it just happens, like if I drive aggressively. So it's like, oh, I definitely get what you said to me when you told me that it improves the handling of your car. It just feels a lot more predictable after that. So I guess that's the best way to describe it without much experience on it so far. Because like, yeah, we installed the diff, and I just went on my commute every day. I never got a chance to drive it hard. I was actually signed up for a drift event in February, but I didn't make it because I had another deadline that week for school, so I couldn't make it out that weekend. And so that would have been like the best test for it, but yeah, I didn't get to.
what
And
event?
then yeah,
What event was that?
oh, it wasn't. It was a private event for On Grid, so it was just like a bunch of the drivers wanted to do like a drift event in. No, sorry, not a drift event. Just to like learn how to control their car like in a slide. So they all did a skid pad day like in February. They pitched in like $100 a person. It was actually really cheap. So then like I didn't feel too bad about missing out on that day. But I mean, yeah, that would have been like the best opportunity to learn, because it wasn't like an actual drift event where there's a lot more experienced drivers there who like, I'm sure you've talked about it. I recall you talking about it with someone before, but the intimidation factor of being a newbie in this sport is definitely a little less in that type of group. So it would have been nice to attend that event, but yeah, I couldn't make it.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest intimidation about open skid pad days is because there's a lot fewer people. Like in a track day, there's probably 30 people in your run groups, and then it's like no one's looking at you all the time. So if you're the last one in the pack, it's like it's not a big deal. But if there's
Yeah,
7 people in a skid pad, and then there's all these spectators, and like, great, this is my first skid pad day and I suck, right? Then it's a lot more
yeah,
intimidating, at least for me.
yeah. No, I mean, like, I agree. So it's yeah, no, I feel like that would have been an ideal day to go, but yeah, no, I'll probably have another day like that. So because after I heard that event was a success, so he probably plans to have a couple more private events like that. So yeah, I mean, hopefully I can attend. But right now, of course, everything's in the air, right?
Yeah, definitely, man. Since we put in the LSD, have you changed the car at all? Any other upgrades or changes?
I haven't had the chance. Like I said, I just been commuting back and forth. This is my last semester of school, so it's been pretty busy. So yeah, I just really didn't have the chance. I did. The only other parts I've bought were I bought. Let's see, I bought some seals to do the bearings. The rear axle bearings. I didn't buy the rear bearings yet, though. I was gonna get those from Battle Garage, but yeah, I haven't had the chance. And I did purchase a Link ECU, but yeah, no, I don't have any plans on installing that anytime soon. So,
I vaguely remember that was in your Instagram, right? You bought a Link secondhand from someone?
oh no, I bought it. I actually bought it brand new. I just ordered it online, and yeah, when I received it, I posted it on Instagram.
How's that gonna work with just the Link? Like, how are you going to get it work with the 16 valve harness?
Oh, so it's a wire in ECU. So I was just it comes with a harness that you just wire in. So I've actually had a little time to look at the harness, and it's actually a lot more intuitive than I thought, because I was always intimidated by like wiring ECUs and like, well, just wiring, like big wiring jobs in general. Like, my wiring experience is probably like, oh, like wire a gauge up, wire your fog lights up, wire a stereo. Like I haven't done much like engine wiring or anything like that. So I was always intimidated by it. But upon receiving the harness, I realized they actually label almost every single wire. Like they actually like, so on the harness they taped off like 3 wires together that like all go, and then they on those 3 wires there's like a tape that says coolant, and then there's one that goes to like oil or like the crank trigger, and then like they're all labeled. So I was just like pretty surprised that they even did that for you, because I thought usually they just give you a pinout and then you just got to figure it out, by looking at the colors. But yeah, no, like everything's all there, and it's actually a pretty simple system. You just need I believe you just need your air temp. You need like a map or load sensor, and you need a crank trigger, and I think that's really it. Fuel, and it has all the fuel stuff, the fuel injector lines, and yeah, so not lines, the
Pigtails, right?
the pigtails, yeah. So
Is this Link ECU for 4AG, or is it a generic kit or a
no,
universal
so
kit?
it's just a universal kit, but they do advertise it for the 4-cylinder engines, like, because I think this is their bottom line model. That's the Atom X. So I believe it's like the lowest of their product line.
I mean, probably for both of us, this really piques our interest because there really is no good standalone option if you have like a stock 4AG right now.
Oh no, yeah.
If you're someone like us who is like not a electrical engineer, or electrical stuff like this is not our background, it's really intimidating, right?
Yeah, yeah. No, so I mean, I believe like Megasquirt is like the only one that's plug and play. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong there, but that's the only one I know of. And let's see. Yeah, I don't know. Like it's a pretty good option. But I just feel like I didn't really want to tinker it with it too much, because I know Megasquirt is really good for people who want to like tinker with it. Like I've seen Mark work on his Megasquirt. Oh, and Visna too. They both wanted to add more functions to their Megasquirt, and they were able to just open it, like solder to it and stuff. But I don't have that much confidence in myself, because I don't want to fry like a $600 piece of like hardware and then be like, be stuck with a brick basically. So
Yeah, likewise. I mean, standalone's probably the last thing both you and I are missing because I mean, our builds are pretty dang similar,
Yeah,
engine
yeah,
wise. And both of us, that's probably the last key ingredient we're missing is standalone. But I mean,
yeah, yeah.
in my case, like I'd like a la carte option. Like I don't want to be opening the board and soldering. I want to just get it installed and tuned pretty much.
Yeah, yeah. No, so I did get it off of like because I heard a lot of good like reviews about it, and then I did talk to Grant about it, and he said that he did have a good experience tuning with it. So that's why I eventually just went with it.
It's cool that Megasquirt has that plug and play option, but I think from what I've heard, Megasquirt also has its limitations.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So did you hear like Mark went from trying to build a Megasquirt and it's not working for his beams and he ended up going Link with his beams?
Oh, I did not know that. No.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Because then like he seemed like he really knew what he was doing with that too.
Yeah, I forgot exactly what he said, but definitely a lot of like electrical engineering I didn't understand. But yeah, apparently at there's like a cap to what Mega Squirt can do. Definitely really good for like the hobbyist and the tinker, but there's I guess there definitely is a cap depending on like what level of performance you want out of a standalone.
Yeah, I mean, from my understanding, it came out like quite a long time ago, but I'm not sure if there's been like a lot of development in it because I don't really keep up with it too much, you know. So, but I think they've been on version 3 for like almost a decade now, you know. So
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know, you know. So I'm not downplaying on it at all because I've seen people do amazing things with it, but I don't think I have the capability to or and the patience to like sit there and do it, you know. So
No, I mean I'm exactly in the same boat. That's why I've been like no standalone for how long now, right?
yeah, yeah. No, I mean, dude, honestly, getting a wire in is already asking a lot from me because I'm like, oh man, I don't even know where to start. Sometimes when I look at it, but it's like, yeah, I know it's the next step, so it's just it's something I just got to do eventually. It's I've actually been like pondering on the thought of just taking apart my car now that it's in quarantine, but I don't really want to do that because I do have a running car right now. You know, I don't want to just take it apart. You know. So,
Do it after you finish school, man, and you have a real daily.
oh yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I'm only like what a month away now, so it's not that bad. Yeah.
So when you get the link in there, what are your plans after that?
Oh, definitely get Grant to take a look at it. No, but yeah, no, get a tune in it because I do want to first step is like get rid of the airflow meter. Like I'm not gonna prioritize getting ITVs on it right away, but that would eventually be down the line. I would love to get some ITVs on that engine.
I see you already like led up to my next question.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Cuz it's funny, I don't know if you like Philip Watanabe, I don't know, homeless pigeon on Instagram. I don't know if you follow him. He's always selling stuff, right? And I think
Oh yeah, and I
he
saw the Jixer set, right?
yeah, I think that's the and I don't know if you follow Demo on Instagram too. He has there's a Corolla down there with the Gixxer ITBs on like Hondata on a 4AG Corolla.
Oh, I didn't know that. I
Yeah,
do
yeah,
I do follow Demo, but I didn't see that post. So
yeah. I privately DM'd him, and I guess they had that manifold one off for that car.
oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it was his friend's car that he helped build. That was what it was.
Oh man. Yeah, I mean, I would have loved to take a look at it, see what they did with it. I mean, it looks like the one that it was Philip, right? Yeah, Philip. He posted one. It looks like they used like silicon couplers on it, right? Almost like the carbs.
Uh huh.
That looks like one way to go about it. So,
At first, when I saw those, like when Japanese guys are putting like the Keiichi, the FC, or whatever motorcycle carbs on their car, and you always see there's the silicone couplers. I always thought that might be kind of ghetto, but I think I have to like eat my words on that one because I know Takae Ono was saying in Japan when they do the adapter plates for the 20 valve ITBs onto 16 valve, they're designed differently than how we do it over here because Like it adds so much weight to that intake side that actually the adapter starts cracking because there's no like provision to, like the
Oh, interesting.
yeah,
Yeah.
on the OEM manifold there's that one bar that holds the manifold against the block, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so when you go ITBs and you have a solid adapter, there's nothing holding onto it. And if you can, and I think Taco was saying like, imagine you rev 8, 9 grand all the time. Imagine how much that manifold's moving.
Yeah, and there's a lot of vibrations
Yeah,
too.
so I
So
mean, thinking about it that way, those silicone couplers make sense.
yeah, no, I mean, so I had the same exact thought as you when the first time I saw those. I don't remember. A small shout out to the fellas network guys. I think that was the first time I actually saw those that utilized was on carbs. I think they were installing a carb kit on their 4AG. And yeah, no, I saw the silicon couplers and I thought like, wow, that's kind of ghetto, isn't it? But then like I thought about it and I was just like, wait, but then that's how they install those on motorcycles. And those things see like almost 11 grand sometimes, So it's like, oh wow. So I think the motorcycles might be packaged maybe a little tighter, so maybe they're not hanging off as much as like say an intake manifold. But assuming that it's fine on a motorcycle, I was like, okay, maybe it should be fine on a car as well. It's just almost the same environment. So
Yeah, I'm really glad at least we have these other solutions because I know, like talking with Grant, 20 valve ITBs, there's only like a finite amount they're not making anymore. And they only get
oh
more
yeah.
expensive. Like the little, I'm sure, the little like springs and linkages and stuff, like you're not going to Toyota and buying that little stuff.
Oh
And
no, yeah.
they're all wearing out. So they're not, down the line, they're not going to be the best option, right? It's going to be like way out of people's price range for like a worn out set.
It's definitely it's a hard one, man, because it's like even just on normal throttle bodies, right? Like remember how my throttle body gave out? Like I actually had an overwhelming amount of people like texting me and telling me like, oh yeah, that's pretty normal. And I was like, wait, what? It's pretty normal for your throttle body just break? I was like, that really sucks, like, and I I'm not sure if that ever happens to like the ITBs, but like in the scenario that does happen, it's like you're out of like you're shit out of luck of a throttle body, like you're like that's one throttle out. Like what are you gonna do? You're gonna go find buy a shaft from Toyota. It's like that's not happening, So it's like,
Exactly.
and if you're gonna like have to replace that one throttle, you're gonna take that one throttle from like another like good set, So it's yeah, we got to find like another solution for those.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned the throttle body because I've had two cars here now with the wrong throttle body, but it bolts onto a rear drive manifold.
Oh yeah, yeah. We did talk about that too, right? The front wheel drive versus rear wheel drive throttle body.
Yeah. So one of them, there was for sure it was wrong because there was no screw for idle up adjustment on that thing. So they must have done it somehow different on another car. And then the one I have at the shop right now, there's like a lot of the ports are blocked off. Exactly the reason why your like that rod for the butterfly broke in half, that like damper thing, and there's that
Yeah,
that one way vacuum valve in front of it, and it's
yeah.
so that this throttle body on this car is missing a port for that valve.
Oh wow.
I think it has the two vacuum ports for AC, but like all the other emissions valve, it's or at least that damper valve, it's missing. So I had to add one to this throttle body.
Wait, so did you like drill into it, or is it already like just already there?
So the vacuum ports is missing is linked to the idle air control. So the thing on the bottom with those Phillips screws.
Yeah.
And so all the bosses are there. It's just the original casting. So they're all cast shut.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I drilled in and then I bought some stainless tubing and epoxied the tubing in the correct places. So now it actually has the ports for that damper.
Oh man. Oh yeah. Actually, I had a similar experience with my throttle body as well. So I think I might have touched base with you on it a bit, but I'm not sure if I went into it too much. but the front wheel drive throttle body in the there's ports for it that go to um the PCV valve, or sorry, the PCV system. We don't have a valve in our car, but it goes to the PCV system. And if you switch from, so if you go from front wheel drive, if you use a front wheel drive throttle body on a rear wheel drive intake manifold, you actually have like, there's actually some holes you need to drill out on the throttle body that are blocked out too. And it's just like, it's the ports are all there, but the casting just blocks it. So I had to, drill a couple of holes in my throttle body, and I actually had to fill one up with some JB weld, because then it would just be open to the air otherwise.
Yeah, I remember on this one too. There was like one port that was, don't know what that port does. It probably does something for a front drive 4AG, but yeah, I had to block off that port with epoxy on this guy too.
Yeah, so I don't know if I talked about that with you yet, but I had to do that, and then it was a pretty interesting experience, because I don't know about you, but I'm really bad at drilling holes, especially when it's diagonal. It's really hard to get a hole in the throttle body, like trying to like drill it diagonally. It's hard to describe without an image or anything. But yeah, I don't know. It was a pretty interesting experience, because you only get one shot at it. You know, you fuck up, you know. So
Yeah, I
but
mean,
luckily I did have the spare throttle body, and I did a practice shot on that one, and it turned out well. So
yeah, I found, I mean, next time you're able to come to the shop, I found some, I think they're called tap guides. And it's like,
oh yeah.
yeah, so they're flat, and then they also have like cutouts in the bottom, so you can place it on like an edge, and then so you can always drill or tap. Tap is my biggest problem. I can drill a straight hole. I can't tap. It's hard for me to get the tap straight.
Yeah.
So yeah, a drill or tap guide. That's what has been my hero these days.
Actually, it's good that you brought up tap and drill guides, because like now that I've gotten into 3D printings, they actually have a lot of like drill guides and stuff that you can print out online. And aside from that, now that gives me the idea, like you can actually like print up like temporary jigs for a lot of things, like even like say like welding aluminum, like you need like a square block to hold it or something. Like it'll melt, it will surely melt with the heat. But I mean, if you just need it to be like held for like a second or something, it's good enough, you know. So a lot of interesting ideas
Yeah,
with
I
that. Yeah.
totally different. I know long time ago, because I like to deep dive into Google for automotive stuff for no reason. That
Yeah.
that I think 3SGTE into AW11 kit. There used to be this company that used to send you a jig, and you had to it was like a borrow service. And then I think that jig turned into a paper template, and then but yeah, same concept is that if you only needed to drill one hole, then they could send you like a rapid prototype, throwaway casting, just so you could drill out that one hole, and it would fit up against the body, so like there's no margin for error, right?
I didn't know. I didn't know companies actually did that. That's pretty cool.
I don't know if you've been watching the wagon videos, but I'm trying to put side drafts on that thing.
I saw. Yeah, no, I did catch wind of that. Well, how's that going? I saw that you bought some carbs, right?
Yeah, so I ordered them a long time ago, and Battle Garage was able to ship them over. So yeah, the manifold and then both carbs are here. Yeah, the carbs actually came yesterday.
Were they like Makuni carbs, or where were they?
OER.
OER. Okay.
Yeah.
I can't say I've heard of that, but
No, I haven't either. If you and the listeners listen to the Side Draft Specialties episode, you'll find out like the long-winded carburetor history, why Makuni only makes motorcycle carburetors now.
oh, okay. I didn't know you did an episode on that. That's
Oh
actually
yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
So
The
yeah,
Side Draft Specialties episode.
I'm assuming your engine's running really good then, right? The 3TC.
Relatively well, yeah, because I haven't had another like 3TC powered car, so it's hard to tell if it's like underpowered or not, but it's been going well. I've been daily driving it like this whole time. Yesterday, I actually took the truck around the block just to make sure the battery's not dead. So, but yeah, the wagon's been reliable. So
Yeah, no, I mean your posts about it seem very enthusiastic. So I mean, it seems like you're enjoying it.
Yeah, the amount of positive response I've gotten for that wagon. This is another one of those like nobody's gonna, absolutely no one's gonna care about this thing. And then it turned out there was a huge amount of positive response for this thing.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's awesome, man. No, so from my understanding, like talking to a few 3TC owners, like it seems like those engines are like bulletproof. Like that's what they always tell me. I don't have any experience with them myself, but all the owners of those cars with those engines, they seem to really love them. So, I mean, seems like you got yourself a good package because I believe those cars don't all come with 3TCs, right?
Yeah, so the next year of 83, so like Lance's TE has a 4 AC in it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
So
and
I
then there's another I think there's another engine you can get for these. But yeah, you're right, not all of these come with a 3TC.
yeah, so I mean, it just seems like you got a good deal from from what we know about those. So.
Yeah, I was definitely pumped. Like, so the previous owner, like when I saw, like, first of all, it's a wagon, it's 5 speed, plus it's got the 3TC, and I was like, oh man, I shouldn't buy this, but I really want it now.
Yeah, yeah. No, so I don't know if you were the same as me when you were younger, but for me, like when I was younger, I was not so into wagons. But it's funny, what the older you get, like I just started looking at the wagons more, and they just look more and more practical. And then like I don't know if it's like I wasn't paying attention to it before, and I am now, but it almost seems like wagons are just huge now. Like everyone does things to wagons, and although like some of them turn out to just be stance cars and stuff, they look awesome, man. Like with the wagon, you know, like so. I don't know, like I'm really into them now. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Like
likewise. I think part of it, there's a couple of reasons, right? Like historically, old stuff becomes new again. Like I'm sure you know there's a lot of nostalgia for like 90s stuff right now. And then even going further, like a lot of nostalgia for 80s stuff. But yeah, historically, before the advent of minivans, wagons were the family car. So like if you settled down, married, and had kids, you got the boring station wagon.
yeah,
And I think for like the longest time, it's always been like that up until, I would say recently within the last 10 years, where almost no manufacturer, like it's rare to see any, new wagon in the showroom. And all of a sudden, like everything else, old stuff becomes cool again. I think just that now's the time for like weirdo stuff like wagons, right?
yeah. I don't know. I mean, I like seeing it. So I don't know about you, but I really used to like. I know you were into Hondas, so I used to really like the Vanawagon or whatever it was called. I forgot.
Oh,
But then it was like,
yeah, waggle
yeah,
van.
the Wago van. Yeah, dude, I always thought those were badass, especially BCs. But yeah, I always thought those were awesome, man. Like they look cool, and those were kind of like the gateway for me liking wagons, was because I was a Honda guy at first. I didn't really like wagons, and I started looking at that one, and then after you start looking at one, you start looking at others, and then after that, it was like, oh yeah, no, wagons are cool. Like
Yeah,
I don't know why, I didn't know why I thought they were lame before, but like, they're really cool. So
my introduction to liking wagons was kind of like a slow burn. I remember in college, I met up with a group of like classic Toyota. Like they kind of had their own local car club. They called it back in the days. And one of the guys had like dude, I want to say it was like a 60s Corolla wagon.
oh wow,
Yeah. And that was his daily driver. And then, because I worked at the Benz dealer at the time, it was crazy. You could get like the high performance stuff in a wagon. So you could get like a E55 or E63 wagon.
oh yeah, no, those are super cool, man. I used to work on those at the tire shop.
And then, yeah, I think it just sprouted from them. Like, I was like, what else comes in a wagon? And then, one of my all time probably dream cars, CTSV wagon that comes in a 6 speed manual.
Oh yeah, those things are cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Also,
didn't know those were manual. What?
yeah. So the rarest CTSV wagon option, no, the rarest CTSV option you can get is in a wagon and a 6 speed manual.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's
That,
pretty cool.
that car also holds the record for the worst fuel economy of any station wagon in history.
I believe that one.
Yeah.
It probably has an LS in it, right?
Uh, let's see. I think those changed over the years. Like you could get an NA, a supercharged, and then back to NA, and then like a really like a freaking Camaro supercharged one. I forget
Yeah.
what that particular trim comes in, but regardless, it's CTSV. So
Yeah, high performance engine. Yeah. So, dude, that's awesome. I don't know if you know about the Stagias, the Nissans. It's the
the
R34 wagon.
yeah, the Skyline one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would have to say those were probably one of my early influences too. Oh, and then as well as because I don't know if you watched them, but Mighty Car Mods, and they always did the legacy wagons, and I always thought those like eventually, after you keep seeing it, you're like, oh, that's cool, like so.
Yeah, the other thing you could get, I think an Evo 9789 in a wagon. I think.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
actually, now that you bring it up, I think I remember seeing pictures, but I don't think I've ever seen one in person.
well, all the cool stuff, of course, we don't get stateside.
Oh, okay, of course. Okay, so that's why we don't have them. Okay.
Yeah, and then the other one that Subaru guys really know is, do you know the Lavorg?
No, I don't.
Okay, it's like a Subaru Legacy wagon that's also turbo, and because the Subaru probably comes in a manual. But I remember one time when I was in Taiwan, I saw Lavorg, and I was like, oh man, people in the States are dying for these things.
Oh man. On that topic, what other cars have you seen out of state, or I mean, sorry, out of the country before?
The only place I've been out of the country is Taiwan, and
Okay.
what's interesting about Taiwan is that we have a lot of the same cars, but there's different trim models you can get over there. A lot of stuff's detuned. So like you can't buy an STI or an Evo over there. You can only get a Ralliart or WRX.
Oh wow.
Or
Really?
like out here, like an S class, like a S550 comes stock with a V8. I think you can get an S300, S350 over there. So the base model S class comes with a 3.5 V6 over there.
Oh wow.
So the 204 chassis C class, so let's say like 09, 2009, 2010 C class, you could get in a wagon, but we didn't get them stateside. But in Taiwan, I saw a couple C class wagons.
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
there's not like a lot of the stuff that they get over there. It's like a lot of it's detuned, and it's like a lot of the same, just detuned. Yeah.
Okay, so then you still got like your Hondas and your Toyotas and stuff over there.
Yeah, but so you can't get an SI either. It's interesting because the front of those, a lot of them, it's like the JDM front. So like an 06 Civic has like the more aggressive looking taillights and headlights.
Okay, so it's good that you brought it up because that's where I was going with this. I was in Vietnam, and I just remember like turning like every corner you turned, you'd see a Honda Civic, and then they would have the quote unquote Type R JDM taillights and headlights on them, but then like it wasn't a Type R, it wasn't even an SI, and I was just like, what? These are like super desirable stateside. Like I didn't know they were just available on like base model cars like over here in Asia, and I thought that was pretty interesting. Like because I mean, I'm sure you know about the JDM craze, the Honda JDM craze, because then like people used to pay like a lot of money for like a JDM front end conversion and such back then. I don't know how much they cost now, but like people will pay a lot. And then same with the Toyota crowd, we pay like a couple $1,000s for a bumper. So I mean, I just thought it was interesting that like the taillights were available on all cars, because I believe like to do that conversion over here in the US, you would have to buy not only the lights, you would have to buy the trunk lid as well, because I think it's shaped differently. So
Yeah, the hood and the fenders might be different too, depending how the lights are shaped, right?
oh, for the headlights.
Yeah.
For the oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's not cheap, right? But it just comes with the car over there. So it's like, wow, like we're spending a lot of money for just something that might be very basic somewhere else, So But the grass is always greener somewhere else. So
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we go over it a bunch of times that like Japanese people are buying, or people in Japan are buying our USDM bumpers that we just want to throw away, right?
yeah, I mean, we're getting to the point where we might as well just trade cars like straight out, right?
Oh
Like
yeah,
outright.
yeah, exactly. What else is new in the Corolla world for you?
Not much, but I am excited to see. It's people joke about it a lot, like, oh, it's quarantine time to work on your Corollas. But then like it's funny because then I'm scrolling through, like, I'm just going through my online classes throughout the day, and I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, like every now and then, and I look and I see like people posting like, oh, I'm working on my Corolla, or I'm starting to work on my Corolla again, and I'm just like, okay, people were joking about this, but people are actually starting to work on their Corollas again, which is awesome. I think that's cool, and not just Corollas. It's been project cars in general. Um, because I'm on my last semester of school, I made a decision to not attend any track events or anything in the time being. It's funny because now like we're in a situation where we can't even do it. But that was my personal decision before the year started, and so naturally my interest dwindles a bit, right? Because you just start to pay attention to other things. But it's been drawing me back now because like I've seen so many people work on their cars and doing interesting things that I'm like, oh man, like see, I want to start wrenching again. It's just a matter of time now. So yeah, it's been motivating actually.
Did you see that alternator bracket from JSP?
Yeah. Oh yes, that was awesome. Like I was like, I was thinking to myself, like, man, that is over engineered, but it was like, that is just badass, I was just like, he just made it because he could, like, it's cool. Like, I think, I'm using the one from, was it, NST, and it's just a simple, like, you can just buy it off the shelf. It's really just a bunch of, Heim joints, rod ends, and like a turnbuckle. It's all it really is, but it works really well functionally. But man, like it's really just like hardware, right? It's nothing special. But man, what JSP made was like, wow, like a machined piece. Like I was thinking like he could have just made it like the other way too, but he actually made his own bracket and everything, which is awesome.
I think we're getting to that point now too, where it's like one thing as of late that has attracted a lot of interest was the non-power steering AC brackets, the JDM ones.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of go ahead.
Sorry, does his account for that? I wasn't aware.
No,
So.
no. I'm just saying in general, there's a lot of these OEM brackets where it's like, it's
It's ridiculous, man. Yeah.
yeah.
I saw one go for like $500 or something like that, and I was like, that's the price it costed for one piece to put AC in your car. Like, wow. Like,
yeah. And I mean, we're getting to that point where we almost have to start making reproductions because all these OEM pieces are just too hard to find, getting too expensive, depending what area of the country you live in or what country you live in, period, you're probably never going to find it.
So I saw that and I thought it like, so two things. I'm not downplaying on him at all. And then I'm not talking up my skills at all. But I looked at it and I was like, wow, I could draw that. Like maybe it would take me like a long time to draw it, but like that's something I could have totally done. It's like I'm not gonna do it now because it's already done. But it's like it started getting the wheel turning for me. I was like, what other parts are like not being produced anymore, but like we really need? And then for me, it's like I broke a water neck earlier this year because I over torqued the sensor a bit. Like. That sucks because you can't just go and buy a water neck. I was down a car because I didn't have a water. Well, I mean, actually, the engine wasn't even running at the time, but I was down because of just one water neck, and it's like I posted it on like 3 different 8.6 groups. I got maybe like 2 responses, and then like only one of them actually followed through. So that's usually the experience of getting Corolla parts. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar. But it's a little frustrating, and I was like, man, this is really something I could just produce, but it's like I just don't have the means to right now, and I haven't had time to draw it up or anything either, so it was like it was really motivating. I was like, I think I should try to draw that water neck because that's a piece people actually need, you know? So, and like, there are a lot of options for 20 valve engines, but there's like nothing for the 16 valve. Kind of sucks, you know? So, yeah, no, it was very motivating to see that piece from JSP. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I think with all his products, he'll have like an introductory sale. I didn't even bother looking at the price because I knew what was going to happen. Was like, I don't care what it costs, right?
You purchased one.
No, I did not. On
Oh,
purpose.
okay.
I highly recommend you guys go take a look at it and support JSP. But I knew what was going to happen if I personally went to the website and looked at it.
Yeah. No, I mean dude, the valve cover is just a work of art.
Oh,
Like, you know, like
that's another piece. Like I just refused to go on the website because I knew what was going to happen.
yeah, man, it's yeah, that piece I was drooling over that one. I really wanted it.
You know what would be a cool piece that in my mind that's like our childhood piece is the Formula Atlantic valve covers.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
if you made the same style that could just bolt to a 16 valve and then had a provision for like an oil filter and like maybe some like updated PCV ports, I think that'd be a really cool like reproduction piece.
Yeah. No, definitely. Like people wait, so my understanding is you do have to modify the head a bit, right, to put that valve cover on?
Yeah, they bolt in different spots. I specifically remember Wiesner bought a drill press just to like drill out the head so he could fit a FA valve cover on there.
Oh wow, I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
pretty involved.
I saw him doing modifications to it and posting them on Instagram, but I didn't really understand what was going on. I just knew that it was not a bolt top piece. So I thought that was interesting. From my understanding, from like the little research I've done into it, I heard that on the Formula Atlantic cars, that piece is actually structural because I think they bolt something to that valve cover, so that's why it's extra beefy like that. So that's actually pretty interesting. I didn't know that about that. But
Yeah, there's some old Club 4. I vaguely remember on Club 4G like people putting those in like I forgot what they're called like midgets or sprint cars and yeah, that forward raised portion actually bolts to part of like the hoop or like the chassis and the engine becomes a structural part of the chassis.
yeah, that's pretty crazy. Yeah, I mean, like with those small cars, like I work on a Formula car myself, so you're very like limited with space. So it's no surprise they actually did that because the engine in our car is actually a structural piece for our car too. We don't bolt it to the valve cover, but the engine actually triangulates part of the frame structure in the back. So um, when I learned about the Formula Atlantic valve cover, I was like, oh, that's pretty awesome that they did that. Like I thought it was just like a visual thing, like, or I thought they just did it because they deleted the oil ports. I didn't know the history of it until I looked into it a little bit, but yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, you bring up a good point about being able to draw up pieces because again, like not everyone has that skill. Like I don't have that skill,
Yeah,
and I think I regularly talk about this on the podcast. Is if we can combine all our efforts and work as a team to do stuff like this, like get reproduction parts produced, like give you one scenario like, hey, I'm able to draw this up, but I don't have like machines and stuff to do this. But if some other guy is
yeah,
like, hey, send me the files, man, I'll cut a couple up. It's no big deal for me. And then there's another
yeah,
guy like, hey, it's no big deal to produce these for me. If we can all like work together and
yeah,
so I mean that's like big credit to Mr. John, right? Because he drew it and manufactured himself. And
yeah.
for a fact, you're not getting rich off producing Corolla parts. No way. So, I mean, big ups to, Mr. JSP John.
Oh yeah, no, he's just doing this like out of his passion. So
Yeah,
like it's pretty
100%.
awesome. I mean, I just think it's cool. Like we live in a day like that. We live in an age where like people are still producing like parts for a 30-something-year-old car. You know, it's like like I think he's put out a lot of products this year. Actually, now that I think about it, right? So
And then
it's
also
pretty
like,
cool to see.
yeah, and then also like revising old products. So like, I think his beams relocation shifter kit, which I have the the like second gen one. I think the newer one has a different coating on it and it's a little bit different design. So it's cool to see. And I think like the K and then the F series engine mounts he's revising. So it's cool to see
Yeah.
like these old products he's like constantly improving too.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's hard on my wallet because then it turns into like, oh man, there's a version 3.
Yeah. No, I always wonder, like, if people update, like, is that a thing? This stuff's always been super cool. It's like, it's what I wish I could do if I had like a machine, like all the machining stuff. Because not only does he make like very functional pieces, he actually makes them look very nice too. Because it's very easy to make functional parts. It's actually like, it takes quite an eye to make a part look good too. And I think all his pieces look like very elegant, the way he
Yeah.
does them. So
Function's a good point because I was just thinking on my car, the other two things I have JSP are the radiator hold downs on top and then
yeah.
also an oil cap. And just thinking about the oil cap, like it works, it looks beautiful, it doesn't cut my hand every time like some other oil caps I use.
Yeah.
Like it clears everything. Like that's just a feat in itself to have all those things work together in one product you drew up yourself.
Exactly. No, I mean, I've made brackets and stuff for my car, but they're definitely on the functional side and not like the elegant side of things. So I always appreciate like really nice like machining and stuff. Oh, especially since I'm still learning how to machine myself. Like every time I see like a really good surface finish, and that's what you always show off as a machinist is the surface finish. And oh man, his pieces always like just look beautiful. Like,
I was gonna say, Chris, there's a shop that's waiting on you right now for a couple seal install tools.
oh yeah, no, that's the thing that sucks about this whole quarantine is I actually already ordered the metal for it, but I don't have the machine shop to to machine it at, so it really sucks.
No, I'm just joking with you, but
Oh no, I just wanted to update you on that too. But it's funny because no, it really sucks because I'm sitting here, I'm like thinking about all these projects I could be doing, right? And I'm like, oh man, I could finally get stuck. I was like, oh no, I can't. It's like, I can't even use the machine shop. So,
dude, that's another thing. Besides parts getting harder, that adds to like it's harder to service these cars.
yeah,
For anyone who's ever really looked in the Corolla service manual, there's a lot of SSTs that are like gonna be lost forever.
I think there should be more effort to like make these service tools because from what I understand, back when I was a Honda guy, you could buy the Honda service tools. Like if you looked up the part number, some of them are really expensive. But that's the other thing is I remember Honda's not having too many service tools. Maybe I might be wrong, but with the Toyotas, I noticed like there's a lot of them, and I was like, oh man, I can't buy all these either. They're kind of hard to find. So it's like, yeah, it'd be nice to have actual service tools for these cars.
I mean, the very first thing that comes into mind is the rear brake caliper, that one like nut tool that's like not even a real thread, right? It's like
Yeah,
screw
no,
thread.
yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, so you got to take a look at it because then like I remember I described it to Keith, and Keith was like, "You're describing a nut to me," and I was like, "Keith, it's like it's not just the off the shelf piece." Like I was telling him like you can't just take a nut and screw it onto the brake caliper, and I was telling him like the threads are like spiraled,
Like a
and
wood
then
screw.
exactly. So then like you got to actually take a look. You took a actual look at it. So yeah, no, it's you got to actually. I mean, someone could take the time to draw that, right? But it's also just like, man, is it really like, is it really worth it to produce this piece? I'm not sure, but it's like, yeah, no, those are like not that easy to find, like,
Yeah, I mean, complete credit to you. I needed one last December, and that's when I like, what's it called? Like owned up and went and go bought two of them because when something's hard to find, my OCD is just like, oh, maybe I should have two just in case.
so, so did you end up buying two of them?
Yeah, so I have two at the shop right now.
Did you buy them off of like a Toyota Service Tools website?
Amiyama.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I bought it off of like I think it was like a Bosch Tools website or something. Like it almost seemed like it was for like dealerships and stuff, and maybe not. But then like I managed to put an order in, and it was weird. They like canceled my order,
Mm-hmm.
and I even got a refund back on my like credit card, right? So I was like, oh, I guess they don't want to sell it to me, right? So I was like, all right, whatever. And then at the time, what was it? Fucking what was that shop? It was toy
Tour parts.
Tor Parts, yeah. And I think they're out of business now, but Tor Parts had it. But their website looks so basic that you're like, this looks like it's from the early 2000s. I don't know if this is a real website or not. And I don't know, so I put in the order anyway, and insurance, like the funny thing was I didn't get a confirmation email or anything. So I was like, oh man, they probably are out of business. But I thought about it and I was like, wait, they wouldn't have taken my money if they were out of business though. So I emailed them, and sure enough, they just they just lost the email, and he actually got it sent out to me pretty quick. So that was pretty cool of him. But then the funny thing was that was like a 1 or 2 week process of him like back and forth, and then like him actually sending it out. And then the funny thing was, right when his got sent to me, I got another one in the mail. And then I looked at the email, and then it turns out like the Bosch company ended up actually charging me for it, and then they sent it to me. So I was like, why would they refund it to me and then send it to me? But then I had two, and so
I didn't hear
I
this part of
think
the story. I didn't realize you had two of them.
yeah. So no, I actually had two, and then a while back, I think before you asked to borrow it, some guy on Club 86, the Facebook group, was like really looking for one. And so that's when I found out Tour Parts was like out of business. And I was just like, oh shit. And apparently the guy needed it that week or something to work on his car. And then I was just like, and then with my experience with that Bosch website, I wasn't gonna recommend it to him, because if he needed it that week, like he wasn't gonna get it. So I was just like, I'm probably this guy's best bet. And I remember you saving my ass so many times, and I was just like, this is another time where I can give back to the community. I was like, I really think I should hold on to both, because it's such a small tool, and it's like it doesn't hurt me to it doesn't take up real a lot of room in my toolbox, right? But I was like, all right, I'll help this guy out. And then so I sold it to him. And then I almost regretted it afterwards, because then after I loaned it out to you and then I got it back later, I realized how small of a tool it was, and it's like, oh man, I could lose this super easily. I kind of wish I kept the other one, but at the same time, I'm glad I helped out another Corolla owner, because then I've been in the boat a lot of times where I'm shit out of luck for a part, and then someone reaches out out of the blue and says hey, I got it. And so the guy took the time out of his day to reach out to me and say hey, I got the part, and he took it, he sent it out to me and everything. So it's just I want to return the favor.
Dude,
but yeah, no, I just wanted to share a little of the story about that tool with you.
I mean, telling that story, it totally, so much negativity these days about anything Corolla related in general. We totally forget about these acts of kindness of the community coming together. And when you just told me this story, I remembered personally, for me, a low point for Corolla life for me is after I crashed my car at Laguna, and so many people, I really felt down because so many people were like, oh no, just buy another shell, right? And but luckily there was a few select people who really wanted to help me out. So Grant from Battle Garage gave me another Koki bumper corner light, and then also the corner light that goes on the fender, just gave it to me. And Vizna gave me his spare metal fenders. Ibarra sold me another USDM rear bumper at an extremely good price. I just remember, piece by piece, these other, my friends, and then the people in our Corolla community, yeah, man, let's help you out, get your car back and get you back together.
Yeah, no, I mean, for me, right, I don't know where else I would get these parts if I didn't know people, because you can't just go on Craigslist and like search up like Corolla water neck. It's not gonna show up, you know. Like you have to know people. Like you have to like, for lack of better words, you have to be social. You know, you have to like get to know people. And every time I need a part, I just start hitting people up, and it's nice to be able to like have people to reach out to, you know, because otherwise, I like, how would I build my car? Like my car probably wouldn't be running. It'd probably be on jack stands right now, you know. It's like, it's honestly like amazing what you can do nowadays, because like you have the internet, right? That's one resource, but then you also have other people, and then that's probably like the original resource of parts, you know. So I always remember that it wouldn't work for me if like people didn't reach out, because then like, you know, sometimes I have my days where I don't want to be super social, you know, but it's just like but it's like, I don't know, I always think about all the people that helped me out, and it's like you got to do your part too, you know. So
No, I totally agree, and I'm on the same boat. I'm like not the extremist of introvert, but I much prefer to like quiet and like by myself, right? But and you probably know, like I'm here at the shop pretty much all the time, and our first Friday Corolla meets in NorCal. That's probably the one time a month that I get out and like look forward to talking and reconnecting with people, right?
yeah, no, so I mean, I, you know, I'm sure you've had the same experience, but like being into cars for this long, I'm sure you've gone to like countless car meets, and like you've seen your share of like shitty crowds, the burnout people, the people that just rev their cars and stuff. But like the Corolla community was actually the first time I went to a meet where people actually like addressed each other by names. Like there wasn't anyone like fucking around, you know. Like it's just like everybody's on the same page pretty much, right? Like, and then like I actually had my first experience, I think like during like last summer, where I walked around, and then like as people were getting out of the cars, they were like, "Hey, Chris," and then I was like, "Oh, hey, Tony," or like, "Hey," you know, like it's just like I knew people by their names, you know, and it was like, it was awesome. Like you know, it's just like it's an actual community, and then like going to those meets actually reminds me how fun it is to be into Corollas, because it's like, you know, like on the internet side of things, like, you know, you can see so much hate sometimes, you know, especially with the people who are just trolling, like, you know, with all the, oh, that's not a real 8.6 and all that, you know, all that bullshit. And it's just like they're really just doing that just to stir the pot, you know. And it's like sometimes you get lost in all the drama and everything, and it's like you forget like how nice it is, you know, because of the internet, you know. So
The last First Friday got canceled because of what's going on, but then the one before that I missed because just I mean just too busy on at the shop. But
yeah.
man, that means 2 months now, and so I just sitting here talking with you, it's like, dude, it feels so long, and yeah, it's really been that long. Two months. I haven't been to those meets, and like all these emotions are coming back. Like, oh man, you know, like it's less about the cars for me, and more about like reconnecting with people and like meeting new people,
Yeah.
which is like not my personal life. Like in my personal life, I'm scared to meet new people, right?
Oh yeah, no, agreed. I mean, I think like I was always like, oh man, like I wonder how those guys like stay in those that parking lot so late sometimes. Because I'll see like posts of Jacob leaving at like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. sometimes, and I'm just like, man, that's really late, like to be out. But then like the funny thing was I found myself on a Friday night once at the meet, and it was raining, and I was there until like 2 a.m. with like Jacob, Max, and then I just met Darius at the time, and it was just like, it was just because we were just chopping it up, like, and it was just like, I'm just like, it was a lot of fun, you know. And it's just like experiences like that, and it really reminds me like, oh, it's nice to go out and like to these actual communities and stuff and actually hang out, because it's like it's one thing to be on the internet and just like sit there and like comment on people's things, but it's another to actually go out and interact with people. And I mean, like it's, you know, you could like forget really easily like how someone is in person, you know, compared to the actual screen, you know, because then like, you know, someone can actually like just seem really mean online, but then they're actually another way in person, and you wouldn't know. you know. So
I think we won't say any names, but I think we know a lot of people like that where online
oh
they're
yeah, no, no, I'm not naming any names.
no
I'm
no
just
no
saying like this is just in general. That
no
it's just
I think no I totally agree. It's funny, but we both know some Corolla people that like, oh man, that guy's a dick online, but like I've met this person multiple times. Like, no, he's actually a pretty nice guy in real life. He's just got an
oh
online
yeah,
thing.
no, exactly, yeah, yeah,
But I'm so glad, like, again, touching on what you said, Corolla is this like universal bond where if I'm meeting someone for the first time, we already have this like connection, right? Because we're both Corolla guys.
yeah. No, it's like you know the whole like the joke like Corolla life. That's all you have to say, you know, like oh like what happened? Like why didn't you show up to the meet? Oh, you know, Corolla life. Like that's all you have to say, and it's like, oh, what happened? You know, like, oh, your battery, your alternator, like, what happened? You know, like people usually know. You know, they just understand.
So the reason I bring that up is because the last person that like I've been communicating online with regularly was John Yim, the old the ex sorry John, I didn't mean to call you old, the ex Formula D driver.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, so we actually, dude, I want to say like a couple years I've been back and forth with him just online, and then finally to be able to meet him in real life was like so cool,
So I didn't know you knew him prior to.
or at least on online.
Yeah, yeah. No, no, I mean that's what I meant. Is I didn't know you already knew him online before you met him.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's cool, man.
yeah. And then that's another thing is that a lot of these guys that have been in it for a long time and then not so active on social, they have all this knowledge that's getting lost. So, give you an example on his own car where the camber plates mount to the struts, he drilled one extra hole.
Oh,
And
is it?
so, go ahead. Let me
No,
know
no,
what you
go
think.
ahead, go ahead. Is it because he flipped the plate around?
So, if you switch the plates right and left, you gain a little bit of positive caster.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I've heard of that before. I didn't I didn't know where that came from though. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and so he was like, "Oh yeah, you've never heard of the free caster mod?" And I was like, "No, this is blowing my mind right now."
Yeah, no, so I think the only time I've ever seen someone do it was I don't know if you follow him, Long Grain.
Yes.
Yeah, no, he I don't think he owns that car anymore, but dude, yeah, no, that's the only time I've ever seen that. And that car was beautiful, by the way. Yeah.
That's like this ingenuity out of necessity, because imagine when he was doing it, there was no like Corolla parts. People didn't even know, people in the States like didn't, these were just like crappy econo boxes, right? But and there's probably no good camber plates back then, so the way to do it was to swap your OEM top hats, and you gained a little bit of caster from that.
Yeah, no, that's it's awesome because people just do what they need to do.
Yeah, and then it's like how many more of these secrets are getting lost, right? Or you know,
Oh yeah, no, who knows, man? Because then like that's the thing is like I'm sure for a lot of Corolla guys, they just end up like they get older, they just eventually have a family or other priorities in life, and then they just put the Corolla on the back burner, and then eventually they just sell it, So then it's just like the knowledge is just lost with them, Like we're lucky to have like people that are passionate enough that still stick around even though they've sold their cars. I've seen that a couple of times, but even that's rare, So it's yeah, I wonder how many other tricks there are on that car that we don't know about.
yeah, I think he wants to be a little bit off the radar, but the guy with the, you know who I'm talking about, the guy with the two N2 cars, the white one, the two white N2
Yeah,
cars.
yeah.
Yeah, he specifically like has told me like he does not want to be like, he wants to be more low key, like not on social, but I think he's been doing it since the 70s. And imagine like how much we're missing, how much is like, how much like everything, technical knowledge, like historical knowledge, we're losing by like not hearing his story, right?
Yeah, no, yeah. Maybe you should get them on the podcast more, more
Oh no,
often.
he specifically said, I specifically like, invited him like, come on, we'll just drink and we'll talk, and he's like, no no no, I don't want to do that.
I think I know who you're talking about. So,
Yeah,
but
yeah. No, the what's it called? The two N2 cars. One of them's got a GZE.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's great. It's great what you're doing already, because then I'm sure you're pulling some secrets out of us by doing this already.
Yeah, look forward to I just did a podcast an hour ahead before you with someone else from Hawaii. So look forward to that one. There's a few like bombs that drop that are like, "Oh man, that's pretty wild."
No, I'm looking forward to it. No, yeah, I mean, like, because then, if you think about it, right, like a lot can happen in a decade. And some of these guys have been like, I'm surprised actually that some of these guys actually own their cars for over a decade, because it's like, wow, like, I think the longest I've owned a car was like 4 or 5 years, So this is actually coming up on the second longest car I've owned. So yeah,
Hmm.
there's a lot that can happen. Because it's like, even I think about all the stuff I learned doing Miatas, right? Like for instance, like the way that the lower ball joint bolts into the control arm, it's a it's very hard to like align the holes sometimes because of the way the ball joint pivots. But like I learned a trick on, and I don't think anyone's ever talked about it. But then, and it's kind of lost with me too, because it's kind of hard to describe in a write up, but it's very easy to do in a video. And it's like I don't have a Miata to show this in a video anymore, but I have a trick to actually align that ball joint like very fast, like and correctly every single time. And it's funny because it's like I always think about it. I'm like, dude, that's kind of just lost with me because I've never seen it brought up. I always look it up, and then no one talks about it. People just say like, oh yeah, it's kind of difficult. You just got to mess around with it a bit, So yeah, so I don't know. And then that was only like what 3 or 4 years worth of experience. So like, yeah, like I don't know, like 10 years of experience. Imagine someone that's gone through it for like 10 years, and it's just kind of lost.
Well, I was gonna say I still use your distributor trick to this day. I had to replace the internal O-ring on my personal car not too long ago, and my car is a little bit more tricky, so I had to stab the distributor 3 times. But I remember in the past that would have been 30 times, right?
Yeah, no, I'm glad it worked out for you because yeah, no, I mean, I was standing there like trying to do my first startup on this new head, and then I was just like, I can't believe that the thing holding me back right now is the distributor because I can't stab it correctly. I remember like I called you in a bout of frustration, and I was like, I don't know if I'm doing this correctly, man. I just keep getting one tooth off.
Yeah, really frustrated because you called me like twice in a row, I think, in a matter of a few minutes.
Yeah, yeah. No, so then I was like, what is going on? So then I remember just standing there. I was thinking like, there has to be an easier way to do this. Like, because I was like, I was doing it like with not ideal lighting and, just hunched over this engine. And, you know how that is. Your back gets tired. And I'm just like, oh, man, I do want to get this engine started tonight. But if I just have to keep doing this, I might just do it tomorrow. But then eventually I figured it out. And then so it just took some time to think about it, and it's actually a very simple method. You can actually probably use it on a lot of other engines too, right? So assuming they use the same way to align things. But yeah, no, I mean, like I'm surprised that no one's actually ever brought that up. So it's like I'm glad that I put that out there, and I'm glad I gave it to you too, because then it would have just been lost for me. I'm not putting out any videos. The most I would have done is a write-up. But even then, how clear is that? So it was like, it's good that it ended up with you, and then it ended up in a good format, via video and via video so that people can understand it, So
Yeah, it's stuck in that distributor rebuild video, but I feel like that's important enough where it needs to be its own dedicated video because there's plenty of times where you have to pull the dizzy, and that's the job involves just pulling the dizzy and reinstalling it, right? So I
yeah,
think
and
that
I'm sure that turns a lot of people off too from like doing the job because it's like, oh, I don't want to tackle that right now. I don't have time, So, but if you figured out a good way to do it every single time, it's like I'm sure people would like service it more or whatnot, So or do whatever they need to do. So
let me tell you how intimidating this was even for me. Like, so the O-ring that seals the distributor to the head, I knew that thing has like slowly the leak was getting worse, and like, yeah, I need to replace that O-ring. I'll kind of just and then inside I was like, dude, I'm just gonna like pretend to ignore it because I don't want to stab the distributor again, right?
Yeah.
It was only until like finally it was really leaking when I'd pull out of my driveway to leave, like you could smell the oil burning, and I was like, okay, this is ridiculous. Like I have to do it. But imagine it's like much more intimidating for the majority of people, you know?
No, yeah, I totally know how you feel because rebuilding the head this last year, that was the part I dreaded the most. So like, I haven't done a valve job on this engine. Or sorry, was what would you call it? A valve flash job on this engine before. I've only ever done it on Hondas where they're adjustable, right? So then, like, you would assume like that'd be intimidating to someone that hasn't done it before. But honestly, the part I hated the most was having to stab the distributor like off the car. I mean, sorry, with the head on the car because it's so much harder. Because I remember the first time I put together the engine, I had the engine off, in the garage. So I like just sat down, kneeled next to it, and just stabbed the distributor in, right, like straight in, and it started up first try. And the funny thing was, when I had my friends help me put that engine in, they were like telling me like maybe we should take the distributor out, like it's just hanging there. And I was telling them, I'm like, no, I'm not. I was like, I'm not putting the distributor on like after because I have it on good right now.
Yeah, don't leave it in there. I totally know what you mean.
Yeah, so I was like, no, I'm not taking it off. We're putting it with, like, we're installing this engine with the distributor still on. So, I mean, it went in just fine.
Yeah.
But they were just scared of, my friends were scared of, like, potentially smashing the cap. And I was like, no, we're just going to be careful.
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely, we'll find some way. We'll make a dedicated distributor install video. But again, our cars, mine and your cars, it's particularly difficult because the cams are degreed. So I think we both talked about both of our distributors, like they bias more towards the back of the car. Is that right?
Yeah.
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 Both for both of us because our cams are degreed. But I mean, every single customer car that has like factory cams, I can stab it and it'll fire the first try. I mean, that's how good your tip and trick works.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad I got you a trick to work on because it seemed like you were working on them a lot this year. So.
Oh yeah. I've rebuilt, and replaced like many, like too many to count distributors here. So. Yeah, Chris, I really appreciate you being on the podcast again, and thanks for doing this over the phone with me.
Oh yeah, no, it was good chatting, man.
Yeah, and hopefully everything clears up. You can come back to the shop soon, and then yeah, we can, do anything in person again soon, right?
Yeah, I know. Hopefully sooner than later, man.